Imagine owning a peaceful mountain cabin, your weekend escape from the chaos, only to return and find the locks changed, strangers living inside, and a local Karen claiming it's hers now. That's what happened to me. But what she didn't know? I had the original deeds, surveillance footage, and a direct line to the sheriff. And when I walked in, holding every legal document in hand, the look on her face? Priceless. You won't believe what she was really doing with my cabin. Cabin stolen by Karen? Not on my watch. My name's Nate, and I've owned a remote cabin in the Colorado mountains for about 5 years now. It's my little slice of peace. No Wi-Fi, no traffic, no HOA, just trees, silence, and the occasional deer in the backyard. Or at least, it used to be. A few months ago, work got hectic and I hadn't been up to the cabin in almost 12 weeks. I kept the place locked up tight, paid for a monthly snowplow service, and even had motion sensor trail cams around the property. One Friday, I finally took a long weekend to drive up. The moment I pulled off the gravel road and saw two SUVs parked in my driveway, alarm bells went off. There were kids' toys scattered across the porch. A grill was smoking in the back, and to top it off, a big laminated sign hung above the front steps. Welcome to Pine Hollow Cabin, $189 a night. Check-in, 3 p.m. What the hell? I walked up, knocked on the door. A woman I'd never seen before opened it with a confused look. Can I help you?" "Yeah," I said calmly. "I think you're staying at my cabin." She laughed nervously. "No, this is a vacation rental. I booked it on mountainstay.com." I asked, "Who's renting it out?" "Some lady named Karen. She lives down the road. She said it's her family's property." "Oh, you've got to be kidding me." I didn't want to cause a scene in front of her kids, so I backed off and got back in my car. Drove into town, found the tiny sheriff's office, and explained the situation. The deputy raised an eyebrow. "You said Karen?" "Yep, blonde, mid-50s, Lexus driver, HOA attitude." He sighed. "I know exactly who you're talking about. You're not the first she's pulled something shady with." I pulled out my cabin deed, property tax receipts, and ID. Within 30 minutes, we had a sheriff's escort back at my land. The guests had packed their stuff and were waiting in the driveway when we arrived. Apparently, they'd tried to message Karen, the host, but her phone went straight to voicemail. Deputy Clark knocked on Karen's door down the road. She answered in her fuzzy robe like it was Sunday brunch. "Karen, this is Nate Riley. He owns the property you've been renting out." She had the audacity to roll her eyes. "I've been managing that cabin for months. It was clearly abandoned." The deputy tilted his head. "Abandoned properties don't pay monthly taxes, utilities, and snow removal services, Karen." Then came the worst part. She crossed her arms and said, "Possession is 9/10 of the law." Yeah, she really said that. She was told to cease operations immediately and hand over any keys. "Oh," she said sweetly, "I had the locks changed weeks ago, for safety." She didn't give me a copy. Didn't even have one, apparently. At this point, the sheriff gave me clearance to hire a locksmith and reclaim my property, while they filed a report and started investigating her for trespassing, fraud, and unlawful profiteering. But I wasn't done yet. Oh no. When I stepped back inside my cabin later that day, I found even more surprises. My personal things shoved into boxes in the back closet, furniture rearranged, a tip jar labeled "Support Our Stay" on the counter, and a printed rental calendar showing the cabin was booked solid for the next 3 weekends. She'd made over $6,000 off my place, at least. Guess who had screenshots of all the listings? Yep, me. Want to know what happened when I confronted her with evidence in front of paying guests and local law enforcement? Let's just say the screaming started before the handcuffs did. She profited from my property. Now she's paying the price. The more I dug into what Karen had done, the worse it got. Turns out she wasn't just renting out my cabin. She had an entire side hustle going, operating under a fake property management name, Mountain Escape Stays, LLC. And mine wasn't the only rental she was listing. Sheriff's Deputy Clark helped me pull the mountainstay.com listing, which showed dozens of reviews from past guests, going back 2 full months. That meant at least 8 separate bookings, all while I was unaware and away for work. After I'd changed the locks and reclaimed my cabin, I filed a civil lawsuit against her for property theft, fraud, and unlawful business operation. My attorney was thrilled. The case was textbook and stacked with evidence. Guest reviews with dates, rental listing screenshots, bank records, which we subpoenaed later, surveillance footage of her on my property, and, of course, the deed in my name. But before that all played out in court, I had one more surprise for her. The following weekend, I booked her for an HOA special meeting, citing community code violations. I had heard she prided herself on being the HOA's enforcement queen, so I used it against her. When she arrived, smug as ever, I stood up before the group and projected photos of my ransacked cabin onto the community screen. "This is what Karen did to my home," I said. "Without permission, without ownership. And she profited from it." People gasped. Someone shouted, "Is that your family photo on the floor?" I nodded. Karen stammered something about misunderstandings and doing the neighborhood a favor. But the damage was done. The HOA members were furious, especially since her fake rental guests had caused traffic issues and dumped trash around the woods. It violated multiple codes. She was stripped of her HOA privileges on the spot. And then came the court date. Karen showed up with an overconfident attorney and a binder of nonsense. Meanwhile, I had a full legal folder backed by the sheriff's department, a tech expert who verified website records, an affidavit from one of the families who stayed there, and 3 witnesses who saw her give cabin tours. The judge looked at the photos, read through the evidence, and didn't even call for a recess. He ruled in my favor within 30 minutes. Karen was ordered to pay me $9,200 in damages, cover my legal fees, issue a formal written apology, and she was slapped with a misdemeanor trespassing conviction. Oh, and her Mountain Escape Stays, LLC, shut down within the week. She lost every listing. The best part? 3 weeks later, she tried to sell her own house to, quote, move to a quieter place. I ran into the realtor. "I heard what happened," the agent whispered. "She didn't disclose anything about the lawsuit until after the listing went live. Killed the deal. No one wanted to buy from the woman who stole a cabin and got caught. She eventually pulled the listing and started hiding from everyone. And as for me, I gave my cabin a full refresh. New locks, trail cam upgrades, even added a fire pit with smart lighting. I now spend more weekends there than ever before. Peaceful, private, perfect. And every time I sip coffee on the porch and glance toward the road where Karen used to drive by, I smile. Because justice doesn't always come quickly. But when it does, it's better than a mountain sunrise. If you love true HOA revenge stories like this one, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We've got more wild, real-life drama coming your way every single week.